So you all may not know who I am. My name is Jess Wyatt. I'm the Associate Director in the Office of Alumni Engagement here at UMBC. You have all seen my emails. They were clearly clear enough that you're all here right now. Thank you for coming. And I'm really curious to know who hasn't been back to campus in 5 years. This is your first time back in 5 years. How many of you haven't been back to campus in 10 years? Wow. 20? 25? I feel like I'm doing an auction. Has anybody not been back since they graduated? Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad some of you have been back since. Well, we hope this isn't the last time we see you. Our office is happy to give you a tour, or I would love you for all to save the date for homecoming on October 14th. How many of you have been to homecoming in the recent years? How many of you love homecoming? Yes. So Kevin really loves homecoming. So we will definitely have a Founding for something or another happening at homecoming, so stay tuned. And if that's something you're excited about planning, I highly recommend talking to your Founding for committee members. So, y'all settle down. This is a dignified event. So why am I the one up here introducing today's program? So in the spring of 2016, I met Kim Robinson. How many of you know Kim Robinson? No, Kim didn't ask me for money. Joke. Okay, great, that landed. But instead, Kim gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. Kim handed me the job description for the role that I'm in today. And then when I started in the summer of 2016, Staniel Odom, our wonderful Director of Alumni Engagement, everybody wave to Stan. I was on campus for maybe 5 minutes when Stan said, would you please staff this the FOR group for me as part of the 50th? And I got to know all of my Founding for committee friends, and it has been a wonderful ride for the last almost 7 years. And so, today we celebrate not only the 53rd anniversary of the first graduation at UMBC of the class of 1970. How many 1970 people do we have here? Exciting. All right, 71. Welcome. 72. And 73. Oh, okay, 73, you turned out. So Tonight honors an idea of one turned into the dream of many. How many of you contributed to the book this evening? Yeah, that's pretty cool. A dream of many has come true. And a dream that honors the legacy of a brave group of pioneers who took a chance on a place that we proudly call UMBC. And as it's the anniversary of the first graduation, we're going to have the pleasure of hearing excerpts from 7 stories written by members of the class of 1970. Now I'd like to bring up to the stage the This Belongs to Us editorial team, Diane Tichenell, Mimi Dietrich, Bob Dietrich, and Dale Goff. These 4 are fabulous in their own right. And it has been an honor to work with them over the last almost 7 years. So you already did it, but let's welcome them again to the podium.
You're up. Oh, she forgets a lot.
I thought, good afternoon, everybody. My name, believe it or not, is Diane Jucknellis Tichenell. I was here on the first day in 1966 and graduated in 1970. When I walked onto the UMBC campus for the first time, I felt that something was in the air. It was not just the dust blowing from construction or the weather elements, but something new and fresh. Fast forward to my midlife, and expressing feelings on this subject to UMBC's President Freeman Hrabowski, we needed a book capturing all that was fresh and new from those early days. "Write that book," Dr. Hrabowski replied to me. When expressing the same feeling to fellow alumni, it became clear to me that we needed to capture the collective memory of those days before, during, and following the birth of the UMBC campus, not just my memories. And we needed to capture it now. Not having found the proverbial fountain of youth, I realized that our time is ticking away. We need to tell that story together to properly recreate the mystique of those early years and present it as our legacy. It represents the foundation upon which the current unique UMBC entity rests. If we build it borrowing from a popular movie, they will come. Potential students can benefit from hearing about the campus roots. Mimi, Bob, Dale, and I could not have fulfilled this dream of coaxing the history of those first years out of our fellow classmates without the help of our UMBC campus partners, especially the Office of Alumni Engagement. They graciously bought into our dream and provided us with invaluable support, making the journey to that long-anticipated publication date a memorable one.
Good afternoon. My name is Mimi Haw Dietrich. I was here on the first day in 1966, and I graduated in 1970. In 2016, for UMBC's 50th anniversary, we created a newsletter for the founding four classes called The Flash. It was started by a volunteer committee that wrote stories comparing our experiences of early UMBC with contemporary events. And over the years, it allowed us to stay connected. That's probably why many of you are here tonight. In 2020, when we started thinking about the book, we used the Flash to inspire writers with stories about their memories. So we suggested topics to spark their memories. We asked open-ended questions. We sent emails begging for stories. We had Zoom meetings with each class. We had great conversations and lots of laughs. We made a few old-fashioned phone calls and even twisted a few arms. This collective memory of UMBC's first year is told in the personal voices of 84 writers who enthusiastically wrote over 100 stories. I would like, after all all the arm twisting, to thank everyone who answered our messages and who wrote a story. So, almost half of the story writers are here tonight. So if you wrote a story, would you raise your hand? Wow, oh, wow. Wow. All of those people that raised their hands should have a button that says, ask me about my story. And believe me, if you walk up to one of them and ask them about their story, they'll be very, very happy to tell you. It's great, it's great. Who knew that those essays we learned to write in English 101 over 50 years ago would result in our writing this incredible collection of memories? For all of the writers, this has been a labor of love and a great opportunity to leave a legacy to UMBC. So we want you to know that proceeds from the royalties and the proceeds of the book are going straight back to UMBC. We selected 3 funds to support that are mentioned in the book if you would like to join us in directly supporting UMBC students. One is the Albin O'Kuhn Scholarship Endowment, the Alumni Endowed Scholarship Fund, and oh, you can clap if you want to for this. And the Education Abroad Access Endowment from the class of 1970. Many of you contributed as part of your registration. And if you didn't, you can support tonight. There are staff members here who can help you out. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight, and thank you for supporting UMBC.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Dietrich. I was here the first day in 1966, and I graduated also in 1970. My task for this project was to make sure that all of the stories wound up in the same format, suitable for publication. We received stories by email using all of the programs that exist on Earth. We did Gmail, Outlook, Comcast, iPad, iPhone. They were attached as files using Microsoft Word 2003, 2010, and whatever else there was in Microsoft. Pages, raw text, and unknown text. All had different fonts in different sizes. As many of you know, if you work on any kind of document, there are hidden codes within these documents. These codes will drive you crazy when you try to merge them all into the same format. After many extra words uttered by me, all of the stories were ready. When all of the manipulations of text and pictures and many readings for misspellings, we thought we were ready for publication by Amazon. It turns out that our adventure was just beginning. It turns out that when you upload to Amazon, they apply some of their own formatting to the documents, which moves everything around. We then turned to our trusty technical assistant, Colin McFarland.
Stand up. Stand up, Colin. Stand up.
Colin is Diane's grandson and a UMBC IT 2022 graduate. Colin's work during this phase was priceless, as he found out that we old people sometimes need a little assistance. He also put up with our goofy meetings, bad jokes, and opinions. He was our Amazon savant and got it all to work. Thank you, Colin. Stand up, come on.
Oh, geez. Good afternoon. My name's Dale Goff. I was here on the first day in 1966 and graduated in 1970. Fields of corn and soybeans, pigs, a farm, a barn, and a silo. Summer of '66, working on the grounds crew. Dr. Kuhn and Mrs. Kuhn, students, faculty, and administrators, cleaning and mopping the floor of the cafeteria before opening day. September 19, 1966, parking in mud. Hey, that's not funny. Plywood sidewalks. Walking to campus from distant bus stops. High school buddies, new classmates who are different than we were. 3 buildings, city students, students from the counties, microwave cafeteria, sometime didn't work. Diverse backgrounds, first generations, men's sports, women's sports. The Retriever, memorable faculty, inspirational faculty, civil rights, social unrest, student activism, hanging out in the cafeteria, student workers studying abroad, the library moving from the third floor of building number 1 to the new library building. Good Morning UMBC, Hillcrest, falling in love, science labs, more buildings rising, favorite classes, invited speakers, carpooling, the concert. What does that mean? Thank you, thank you. No, it's Otis. Winter session, a commuter campus gets dorms, theater productions, literary magazine, and controversy, protests, changing majors, women's issues, veterans enroll, the returning student, Vietnam, more new buildings, the red brick, the counterculture, the first and only outdoor graduation on June 7th, waiting for the rain to stop before we could put the chairs out. These are just some of the collective memories of the first 4 graduating classes, 1970 to 73. We have seen its growth from only 3 buildings to a nationally ranked and internationally known university. We were the beginning. We were the founding 4. In past months, much has been said about how we students took a chance on this brand new university built in the farmlands of Spring Grove State Hospital. There's another group that took a chance on this place. Faculty and administrators also took a chance. Many were not too much older than we were, and none were as old as we are now. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Maybe one.
Some had only just received their doctorates, others would receive their PhDs while teaching us. Many were from the greatest generation, serving during the Second World War. Some would command ships, others serve in the OSS, and some even worked on the Manhattan Project. Mostly, none ever talked of their service. Some came from tenured positions at other institutions and risked their academic careers should this experiment not succeed. So in the beginning, in September '66, students, faculty, and administrators took a chance. And this place not only succeeded, it also became internationally known. And we were here at the birth. With that, and with great excitement, I invite to the podium President Valerie Shears Ashby, who was officially appointed in August and formally installed in April. She is UMBC's 6th president and the first woman to serve in the role. A pioneer in her own right, she is leading UMBC into a new era.
So oh wow, the room is full. This is amazing. This is amazing. So first of all, thank you so very, very much. For those of you who I have not met yet, I'm sure I will, and I look forward to getting to know you. I will tell you that this day is so joyful to me. People kept thanking me for being here, and I thought, are you kidding me? I would not miss this. And I wouldn't miss it because when I first arrived on campus in August, one of the first groups of people that I met was this Founding 4 group. I walked into the room and I realized the magnitude of the gift that I had been given the opportunity to lead this institution. And I think I knew it as I was interviewing for this job, but when I sat with those first 4 classes of students, and I'm looking at Mimi and Diane, and it was Bob and Dale and many others in this room I met on that first day. What I heard was the university that I thought I loved, but then I knew I loved it. Because I came to this place because of the people. I came to this place because it does belong to every faculty, staff, and student who's ever come through here and made it even better than it is, than it has been the years before. And I sat with them and I thought, this group of people is a reflection of why this place is so outstanding. First of all, they were brilliant, just like my present students. Just brilliant. They keep saying to me, we would never have been able to get into this university now. And I said, oh, no, yes, you would. Yes, you would. I know. It's hard for people to imagine, but trust me. You were brilliant. But just like our present UMBC students, you weren't just brilliant, you were phenomenal human beings. The joy for me of coming to this campus is a beautiful thing to find smart people. You can find them a lot of places. But when I walk across this campus, I find humans who care deeply about each other and things that are bigger than themselves. And they often are caring about people and institutions, and they're caring about communities that really don't have the same privilege or opportunities that they do. And so they care about service deeply. And so I just want to say how awesome it is that I don't know how long it took you to do it, but I'm kind of grateful that you didn't get finished too early, because I would not have the opportunity to have this experience at the end of a wonderful first year. You were wonderful for me to meet early, and for this to culminate at the end of a first year, it's just a beautiful thing. So your commitment to the institution, you laid the groundwork for who we were going to be. When I read your stories, I think, I get, by the way, I love this. When you all introduced yourselves, and you said, I was here on the first day. Okay. I was 13 days old. On your first day. And my parents had moved to a very small town and taken me to the house that they bought literally while my mother was in the hospital. So I moved home to the new house, and the thing that we share in common is that there was mud in the driveway, from what I'm told. There was no grass yet or any of that. I was 13 days old. When I think about that, I think, what a gift. What a gift that you were starting something that gets to be my gift 56 years later. That is just extraordinary. So what you have done for our present students, and I so appreciated the acknowledgement of the faculty and staff who also really gave of their time. When I read some of the things that the faculty and staff did, I said, we have nothing about which to complain at all. And so thank you for doing this heavy lift, a lot of work. And I just so appreciate the gift that this is going to be for students and faculty and staff forever. How amazing is it to see the world, the community, and this university through the eyes of people who are actually having the experience? It's just amazing. So thank you so very much. I am so grateful to each one of you. And you've just been such a blessing to me. I'll just say that. Just a pure gift to me. How many of you happened to watch or see the inauguration? Okay, I had the joy of having several of you who were in the room here at inauguration, and I had the privilege of saying that this book has come out, and that you had given me one of the first copies, a signed copy. So I just want to say thank you for that incredible welcome. I'm going to do my best not to mess it up. It is my hope to continue to build on what you have established. And to tell you the truth, it's hard for me to imagine how I could mess it up, because our people are so outstanding. They are just amazing. So my job is to help them be their best selves and not get in the way. So thank you all for being here. What a privilege it is to be a part of this in my very first year. And I just thank you for the gift that you've given me. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Simmons. For those of you who I haven't had the chance yet to meet, it's great looking out across the room and seeing so many familiar faces, so many smiling faces, and just hearing the stories. I've kind of got two things that I want to do. The first is just kind of really reemphasize. So I've been here not as long as you all, but I'm in my 30th year at UMBC. Right? So I've been here a long time. So give me a round of applause for that, right? I deserve it. But the one thing that I can attest to is the joy that you hear in Dr. Shears Ashby's voice when she talks about this book, and the stories that you all have shared is authentic and it's real. And from the very first moment she heard about it, I was there when she heard about it. And I saw how her mind opened up and said, this is exactly what I need. This is one of those things that can help me know the UMBC story, know the character of the place, understand why we are the way we are as an institution today. And that has been a consistent theme in the way she's carried herself throughout the year. And everything that you see is real. We have the right leader for this institution right now in Dr. Shears Ashby. Give her a round of applause. The other thing I want to say is I'm going to tell my own story about the four characters who walked into my office and said, we've got this idea. Because I've had a lot of people come into my office with a lot of ideas before, right? And some of them are good. Some of them are good. And they walked in, and when they said, Greg, we want to do this book, and I'd heard the story before, and they said, we're ready to do it, and we want to do it now, and we're going to do it ourselves. We don't need anything from you all, except we want your blessing. And I said, what am I going to do here? What am I going to say now? Because I knew that this was too important of a project, right? We couldn't not do this, right? Now was the time to do this work. And a lot of people say they're not going to need our help, and they need our help, right? This group didn't need our help because they had a plan, they had a vision, they had relationships, and you all rose to the occasion. And you all sent in your words, and you sent in your memories and your stories. And what you have given us is something that sits on my desk and it gets opened every day. When people walk in, I get to help them understand what UMBC was then, and it helps them understand who we are now and where we're going to be in the next 10 years, right? Because the spirit that they took into this project by saying, it's got to get done, let's do it, is exactly the spirit in which this place was opened up. And it's the spirit that we've continued to have as we try to build this place going forward to help young people and help create new technology and help solve problems in our society every day. So there is nothing more, there's nothing that I've done at UMBC that I've been as proud of in many ways as this project. And all I had to do was get out of their way and let them do the work. And so without further ado, let me introduce Dale Goff, who's going to start off with the first excerpt from the book. Thanks, everybody.
This story is entitled The Man on the Tractor. It was the summer of 1966. I had graduated from Catonsville High and was planning on 3 months of sleeping and nothingness. Mrs. Goff had other ideas. She saw an ad in the Arbutus Times that the school under construction at the end of my street, Poplar Avenue, I hold the record for living closest to the campus, thank you, was hiring a grounds crew for the summer. It became clear my summer plans were going to change. So one Saturday in early June, I found myself outside the old gray house, Jim, the old gray house, on the hill, which is now approximately where part of the event center is located, with several others eager to meet Mr. Chisholm, director of the physical plant, about working on the crew. When we arrived at the appointed hour, there was a man riding a tractor cutting the grass around the old gray house. Another man was in the house on the phone. We could hear him speaking through the screen door. Finally, as the phone call ended, one of us opened the door and said, Mr. Chisholm, we're here to see Mr. Chisholm. Dr. Kuhn, we're here to meet Mr. Chisholm about the grounds crew job. His reply, I'm Guy Chisholm. Dr. Kuhn is on the tractor. I'll be with you in a moment. Whoa. The president is cutting grass on a tractor while the guy in charge of cutting the grass is in the house on the phone? What kind of alternative universe had I fallen into? I got the job and worked for the grounds crew for 2 summers. I should point out also that the grounds crew were paid $1.35 an hour. If you worked inside, it was $1.25. Times have changed. That evening at the dinner table, I announced I decided to attend the new school, still under construction, rather than what was then known as Towson State College. I had been admitted to both. Mrs. Goff started crying, thinking that a school that was more than 100 years old was a better choice than one that was still a hole in the ground. Later that night, My dad, as he was heading to bed, stuck his head in the bedroom and said, "You made the right choice. You made the right choice, the better choice. Any man willing to do the least of the jobs of his organization is a really good person and an example that should be followed. I never regretted my decision."
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Corman. I was here on the first day and graduated in 1970. A telltale tour of Hillcrest. The early Skipjack yearbooks include photographs of the exterior of Hillcrest Building, the administrative hub of our new university campus. Dean of Faculty and Vice Chancellor Homer W. Shamp was located on the second floor. I recall student and other administrative offices were on the first floor, and the basement level housed the physical plant department, engineering, security, the multilith printing machine, computer room, and off limits, do not enter, the rear of the basement. I operated the campus multilith printing machine for Dean Shamp and Secretary Mary Jane Randolph. Every day I was up and down, second floor to basement and back again, completing print jobs and maintaining that quirky machine. And every day I saw the off limits, do not enter sign posted at the rear of the basement. One might think such a commanding sign would be on a locked door, but I do not recall any locked door, just a doorway maybe, and that sign taunting me on every trip to the basement. Growing up locally, I was aware of the Spring Grove Hospital. I learned the anecdotal history of Hillcrest as part of Spring Grove, and also noted it was a distance from the main hospital grounds. Rumors about Spring Grove were rampant in the community. And Hillcrest, formerly a Spring Grove facility, was now the administrative center of our new campus. What was in the rear of the basement? One day, the sign was gone. Or I didn't see it, or I didn't read it. Okay, I ignored it. A large, open room, pieces of old furniture, incredibly quiet, and multiple smaller rooms, solid steel doors with small viewing windows, padded walls and floors, and silence. I was in a treatment facility, a solitary confinement ward, completely empty, no sign of past use. Did I mention it was incredibly quiet? In some small way, this experience sparked my curiosity. Psychology professor Janice Goldberg became a favorite teacher, and I graduated with a degree in psychology. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I found it. Okay. My name is Gail Rouse. I was here on the first day in 1966 and graduated in 1970. My story is entitled Perseverance. I do not remember when I first heard that there were plans to build another campus of the University of Maryland to be located in Catonsville and opening in the fall of 1966. But when it was time to start applying to colleges, I decided that I was going to attend UMBC. In fact, it may have been presumptuous of me because it was the only application that I submitted. I received my acceptance letter before the Christmas holiday of my senior year at Catonsville High School. There were mainly 3 reasons why I made the decision to attend UMBC. The first reason was that the campus was located close to home. My family has lived for generations in the Black community located on and around Winters Lane. The campus was scheduled to be a commuter school, and my family didn't have the funds for me to live away from home. Another reason was that I knew that a degree from a predominantly white university would open doors for me when I stepped into the workforce. Most historically Black colleges and universities did not carry the prestige of their white counterparts in the 60s, and their graduates did not earn acknowledgments of the level and quality of their earned degrees as they entered into the workforce. However, the most important reason was that I strongly felt there should be a Black presence in this predominantly white institution. I had been a product of forced desegregation of the Baltimore County schools as a result of the Supreme Court ruling in 1954 of Brown versus the Board of Education, making separate but equal schools unlawful. I was bused from my community starting at the 8th grade because it was determined by the county school board to dismantle Banneker Elementary High School by eliminating a grade each year starting at the 12th grade. The Black students were absorbed into the white schools in Catonsville and surrounding areas. Banneker had been one of the only 3 schools in Baltimore County that offered a high school diploma for Black students for decades. Eventually, Banneker School closed and was demolished. Getting to the university proved to be the easier of the tasks. Getting to the university campus was much more difficult. I was part of a 1-car, 1-driver family. My stepfather, the driver, worked at Fort Meade and had to be at work by 7 a.m. Even though I lived only about 7 miles away from the campus, there was no direct public transportation to get there. I would have had to walk a mile to the bus stop, then would have that would have taken me into the city and then transferred to other buses to take me back into the county to a stop in Arbutus that was at least a mile away from the campus. This trip would have taken me at least 2 to 3 hours. I would have been taking this journey alone because no one else in my community was attending the university. And during the winter months, most of the journey would have been in darkness. It was a safety concern. However, my community stepped up to solve this dilemma. My mother, aunts, and other women of the community worked as domestics in the homes of white families in Catonsville. There were several male drivers in my community who provided transportation for these women to get back and forth to work daily, according to their schedules and locations of the homes in which they worked. One of those drivers, whose name was Ben, decided to include me in his schedule and take me back and forth to school following my schedule. Often the car would be full of these women who gladly added travel time to their schedules to accommodate my schedule. This took time away from their families, but they were willing to invest in my future. I am eternally grateful to them. This lasted for a year, and I really felt sorry for the students who had to use public transportation. and had to walk that long road to the campus in the wind, rain, mud, snow, and bitter cold. Luckily for me, the following year, my father bought me a car.
Good afternoon. I'm Louie Lyle Sowers. I was here the first day in 1966, and I graduated in 1970. My story is called Retriever Hall of Fame. I came to UMBC as a freshman. I have nothing but great memories of those early days. Most of those memories have to do with playing sports. I played volleyball as a sophomore. We didn't have any women's sports in the freshman year. And then field hockey, basketball, and volleyball in my junior and senior years. I also was the scorekeeper for the men's basketball team. My sophomore year, we had no uniforms. We wore our gym uniforms. And then halfway through the hockey season the following year, we finally got uniforms. And we wore those same uniforms for all three sports. We also had the same coach, Joan Chenoweth, for all three sports. She was a great coach who developed a close rapport with all of the girls. I developed great friendships with my fellow team members and have stayed friends with many of those women, even to this day, 50 years later. Some of them are out here in the room tonight. I can remember having an all-night sports night in the gym one year. Coach Chenoweth was the chaperone, and we stayed up all night, and we played games like crab soccer. We established a women's athletic association, and we designed charm bracelets as athletic awards, and we had an awards banquet. We became a very close-knit group, and although we didn't always have a winning record, our basketball team in my senior year was invited to the state championships, and we were seeded second in the state. Quite an accomplishment for such a young school. In addition to sports, I can remember hanging out in the cafeteria between classes, playing cards, having Friday afternoon mixers in the cafeteria, walking on plywood between buildings before the sidewalks were in, raft contests in the library lake, and enjoying great relationships with the faculty. Most of the faculty were not much older than we were, and it seemed to present a unique opportunity that I can't imagine happens in most universities. Being one of the pioneers of UMBC is something I will always cherish and remember with great pride and affection. Good afternoon. My name is Louise Goodrich Izat. I was here on the first day in 1966, and I graduated in 1970. My story is Increasing Vocabulary 101. I do have one very vivid UMBC memory from an extraordinary day that feels like it was just yesterday. We held a protest on campus after the shooting at Kent State, and a large group of us marched afterward to the Catonsville Armory, protesting the war in Vietnam. We were all chanting, 1, 2, 3, 4, we don't want your effing war, 5, 6, 7, 8, remember Kent State. I remember being uncomfortable saying that profanity out loud. But by the time we arrived at the Armory, I was screaming the entire chant out loud, just like everybody else. But what I remember most from that day was not that I increased my vocabulary of profanity, but feeling grown up and engaged, and a first-time feeling of being part of something bigger than we were, part of something we hoped might make a difference in the world. That day was an experience I will never forget, and a feeling that still influences me today.
I appreciated very much being invited to speak, and then I realized that every program needs a commercial. and I'm going to be that commercial. So, because I've got to tell you that it's important for us to support in UMBC in any way we can. And as well as UMBC has done with its research grants and other grants, there's private support provides flexibility and things that it can't be provided in any other way. So you're going to get a commercial, and you're going to hear about a fundraising program that was and is still the most successful, sadly, in the history of UMBC as far as a graduation present. So, my name is Royce Bradshaw. I was here on the first day of 1966 and graduated in 1970. And we're going to talk about the unique gift to UMBC by the founding class. It has been a tradition at many colleges for the graduating class to give a gift to their school. The first UMB seniors wanted to make sure that they gave a gift of value that would start a precedent to continue for many years. A student committee decided that we should raise monies for a loan fund to provide assistance to students who were faced with family emergencies. A goal was set for $10,000. The funds would be raised by asking businesses and corporations to donate. The seniors would earn this contribution by doing a community or charitable project on behalf of the benefactor. So for one donation, a company could help the university students and the community. So it was a win-win public relations project for them. After getting endorsement letters from the chancellor, Dr. Kuhn, the governor, our senators, the financial aid officer, the class sent correspondence to a number of corporations. The student committee then met with them. The response was fantastic, and a total of $13,000 was raised. The biggest donors were Carling's Brewery, which provided $10,000 plus a lot of beer at a party at their brewery after we helped. And the Baltimore Colts. There are some people younger who don't know that we had a Baltimore Colts, but actually we met with and were given the gift by the owner's son, Steve Rosenblum. So replies were received from a number of corporations informing us that they had already spent their charitable gifts for the year, which they have a routine they do, but praising the efforts as unique and inspiring. So the graduate class of 1970 did painting and maintenance work at the School of the Chimes, which is a school for the disabled in Baltimore, and several community action agencies. One thing I'm very proud to say is that almost 50% of the senior class participated in this project. If you go into your 1970 yearbook, pages 229 to 235, you'll see me up on a ladder getting ready to paint there, and you even see Helen Hopkins, who you're going to hear much more about, and who was I think in the picture is ripping down wallpaper to be repainted, and so we had a tremendous. Usually a project like this is done by a few people, and they do it all. And a few of us did do all the planning, but we had the class, a huge number, part of our class showed up one Saturday to work at the Chimes, and the next Saturday to work at the community action centers that we painted and refurbished a bit. And so the founding class is very proud of UMBC and its growth and stature in the academic community. Unfortunately, with growth comes even greater needs. We would encourage all classes to continue what we started, either as a class or individually, to support our school and students as they aspire to make a significant contribution to our society. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Donna Banks Heckler. I, too, was here on the first day in 1966 and graduated in 1970. My story is Helen. With her 2 canes and misshapen legs, Helen Hopkins was one of the most visibly recognizable people on campus. Walking, a simple skill we all took for granted, was a heroic effort for her, as she had cerebral palsy as a child. More amazing than her determination to get to class was her spirit. She continuously had a smile on her face. She was kind, gentle, generous, and always of good humor. She never had a bad day. If you were having a bad day and encountered Helen, your mood was instantly changed. Given the challenges in her life, it was shameful to be around her and be in a bad mood. I think most of us did things for her. Open doors, carry books, and lunch trays. I know I did. I would often walk with her to class just to be sure she got there safely with few challenges. On graduation day, we held our breath as she climbed to the top of the rickety platform stairs with her diploma a short trek away. As she started to walk, all the graduates got to their feet and clapped and whistled and shouted and cheered. We were so happy for her. We all loved her. She was the most deserving of us all.
Can we get one more round of applause for all of our readers? All right. You may have noticed you got a new beverage during the readings this afternoon. So I'm going to invite a man who needs no introduction to close out this evening with a special toast. So Tot, come on down. And here we go.
Left my walking stick at home. I was not here on the first day of UMBC, and I still haven't graduated from UMBC. But I think that my role here today is to deliver a toast not only to the authors whose readings we have heard and the books and filled up the book that we have here, but all of the class, the first 4 classes at UMBC. Because they were the founding 4 of our campus. It is an honor to have been assigned to represent the faculty and staff of the first 4. Some have already made reference to that. But it's also a daunting task to think that I am speaking on behalf of Dr. Kuhn, Dr. Shamp, Joel Jones, Walt Sherwin, Mary Jane Randolph, Seal Needlehoff, and the many others who are mentioned in your book. I know this is not about me, but I can't resist telling you about my first day at UMBC. because it's as unique as yours. I walked into my office, which I was told was on the second or maybe the first floor. I can't remember the numbers of the floor. My office was locked. I asked Julie Enos to unlock it for me. I was here for a reinstatement meeting. And so that was when you flunked out of school and you had to get back in. So you had to come before a board. Well, I opened the door to my office and I looked down and there was a person flat out on the floor. And I didn't know whether to call the police or an ambulance. I started backing out thinking maybe I better not disturb the person. And I ran into then Dr. Mae Roswell. And she looked down at the floor and she said, "Oh, that's just Dr. Jones. He just had a baby and he needs to sleep anytime he can get it." So how many other people would come into, could be on their first day as an employee of a job and find one of the most popular faculty on campus asleep on the floor in your office? I will get to this toast in a minute. I have to give you my wife is quite a techie, so she has me with a speech here, but I can't do that anymore. So the daunting part of this is what would those people that I just named want me to say about UMBC and what they feel about it? And so I thought about it, and I thought, well, UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore campus, county campus, you must be crazy. UCLA, University of Catonsville, left of Arbutus. Umbeck, Dr. Kuhn hated that one. But the fact that the name has never been quite something that I guess we are proud of, I am proud of it, and I think that at this point in time, we can forget about the fact that we needed a branding. I think we can say with no hesitation that people know around the world what UMBC is. But what was it like on those first days? George Lanou wrote a book about UMBC called Improbable Excellence, the Saga of UMBC. There's a quote in that book that I want to read to you about the students. It says, and I quote, "The first group of students were risk takers by the simple fact that they chose to come here. But it showed in many ways that they communicated in a way that was more discovery than confrontation." I might argue with that a little bit. We shared an experience that few students or faculty have ever had because we all came to an institution with no history, no traditions. Everything was open to us. It was probably the most unique experience ever in higher education. I often think how lucky I was to have been a part of it. That quote was Charles Todd Woolston, registrar at the time. So I'm saying to you today, and raising my glass, if I can hold it for a little bit of time here, that this is to you, not just the authors of the book, but especially the authors of the book, and to UMBC, an institution that we all call home. And I would like to say how proud I am and how proud all of these people would have been that I am representing today of you, the students and graduates of UMBC. Cheers. So let me conclude by doing what we always do at UMBC. Give ourselves a big hand.
And that concludes our formal program. We invite you to enjoy some hamburgers that were not from the vending machine, nor that you need to microwave. The bar is open. Please enjoy, and thank you again for coming. It is such a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you.